myself intentionally when we were doing the reviews for the talks. I gave myself the lowest score possible because I didn't want to speak. And then everybody else voted me up. So it's their fault if you don't like it. I'm Miriah. I'm a data engineer. I work at School AI. If you live in Utah, your kids use us. Like, it's just a great little thing, just trying to make school better for students. I organize GoWest and Forge Utah, so I do want everybody to join the Slack channel. And then I also have a Twitch channel, a Substack, a YouTube. I talk about Go and AI all the time. That's all I talk about is Go and or AI. Because why not? Hype train. So who here has built an AI app? Just raise your hand. Dang, it should have been more. A chatbot, content generators, agentic systems, anything, like literally, you call the OpenAI API, you've done it, guys. Like, you don't have to train models anymore. You're just using AI.
What about an MCP server?
MCP is AI, dude. Anybody running it in production at work? Dang, look at you. Not me. I don't do it at work. Self-hosted models, vendor AIs, open router, whatever. So this is Pedro. Pedro is my AI bot. I built it about 1.5 years ago. And it's completely written in Go. It's just a Go service, connects to self-hosted model, and it's Pedro. Remember, I'm Soy Pete. This is Pedro. Why did we use Go for AI? Twitch uses IRC. This is a Twitch chatbot. And so when the IRC messages come in, they immediately go into channels so I can handle multiple of them at once. It's really great. I get built-in error handling and monitoring because it's super easy to use XP bar. I get all the stacks, the Go runtime stats, and then I can throw everything on Prometheus. And it just is really good under load. This is essentially my architecture, right? We get messages from Twitch and Discord. They go to the service bot. Then it goes to a model. I have that model hosted locally on a computer that has an RTX 5090 NVIDIA GPU, and it's just serving great. If you're curious, the model is a Llama 3.1, 8 billion parameters. I tried to do 70 billion, and it kept saying, you're running out of VRAM. And I said, how is 32 gigabytes not enough VRAM? It needed, apparently, it wasn't enough for the 31 gigabyte model. Don't know. And then I'm using Prometheus and Grafana for my observability stack. Why I'm doing this? Because I wanted to learn how to self-host models. It's harder than just calling an API, and it's like not as fun. But I was interested in doing GPUs. I was interested in learning model infrastructure. I was interested in bandwidth. I wanted to learn this all myself. And the hard parts are really kind of like the basic stuff that's hard about the cloud, right? Or like any infrastructure, right? When you were doing bare metal stuff, what was the hard part? It was the ops, right? That's the same hard part for AI. Go's the easy part. So is that, yeah. So essentially, today we're going to be experimenting with my monitoring, and we're going to break it. So Pedro is live on this live stream. So you can go to our YouTube channel, our Forge Utah YouTube channel. You can go to my Discord. You can go to Twitch. I should have posted that in the Slack. If somebody wants to post either my Twitch or YouTube into the Slack channel, that'd be great. Pull out your phones. I want you to DDoS Pedro right now, please. We tested it. It can handle last time I tested it, it handled about 7 messages. That was the AI bottle that could handle 7 messages at a time. I had somebody, if Rug Matt's watching the live stream, he built a bot that just spammed Pedro, and he got 37 messages. You can do that. And we're going to look at the metrics. We're going to see where the strain is in this production AI app, right? It's live in production because you can use it. So Pedro, right? It's built on VLLM. It's written in Go. I have it on my home lab. So I have it running on 2 mini PCs. And like I said, I have a box. They're all in Ubuntu. That runs the model itself as a server with NVIDIA RTX 5090. It has an Intel processor, and it has 64 gigabytes of RAM. That matters if you're used to hosting models. If you're not if you just like to run things in the cloud, nobody cares about my specs. And it connects to Discord, Twitch, and YouTube. So you can do from any of the models. If you want to jump on my Discord, you can play 20 questions with it. Great. And all of the code's on YouTube. So these are the channels you can see it on. And all you have to do to interact with Pedro is say the word Pedro. It literally is just an exact match on the word Pedro, and it queues up a process because that's easy. So the important things I want you to understand. When you're hosting a model, things like we have the normal API metrics, we have our database metrics, but specifically for LLM and API, we care about the latency of that model. So the things we're going to be looking at, time to first token, this is how long it takes the model to start creating new things, right? We're going to have end-to-end latency. That is the total call time from the time I initiate the call to the VLLM to the time I receive the full response back. We're going to care about the queue depth. That's how many things the GPU is processing. And the key value cache, that is how much load I have on the GPU right now. The model is currently living in memory, but the inferencing does happen against the GPU, and that's why we care about the key value cache. In Pedro, I have Prometheus set up. We have success and failure rates, right? So that's how many times we get a response back versus don't get a response back, or get an empty response. In the early testing against the model, I was using a different quantized Llama 3.1, but sometimes the prompt wasn't good enough and it would just give no response and then not post anything to Twitch because it was empty. And then we also care about our heap in memory, like are we overloading our Go runtime with that stuff? So we can go check it out. Where's the click on it? Look at that beautiful thing. Come on. There we go. Can you see it okay? You want me to make it bigger?
A little bigger.
A little bigger? So there we go. So this right here is our VLLM performance. I have had this running since Tuesday when I started testing it. We've had 280 requests. Right now there is no load on the GPU, you guys. Look at that key value cache. That's 0. That means it's not having to keep context between messages itself. We have no running requests. We have observability. This is our Twitch metrics. We can see how many messages have been received. Not that we have one live connection. We're doing low memory. But look at that message rate. Look, guys. We had a spike. But you haven't broken it yet. You can just start talking about Java, and it'll break because this is a Go bot, and Java's not allowed. So, just try and break it. Also, if you tell it to speak in leet speech, that broke it too. And for some reason, the system prompt did not restart that. It just kept speaking like that for eternity. It was the worst. I fixed that, so you should try and check that too.
It was fine changing languages. So.
It's doing good language speak? Good. Because last time it was we told it to speak a certain way, and it did that for eternity. And I was like, why? It should only have a 10-message context window. So far, this only tests fails. We're not doing any failure. No failures. Oh, and the other thing Pedro does too, it has a workflow. So it's not a full agent. It's a workflow. If Pedro will search the DuckDuckGo API. And it will send you a message saying, let me look that up for you. So if you can trigger that, we should see the metrics here. So ask it something about, tell me about the latest Claude release. And it'll be like, I don't know what that is. And it should look it up for you. Yeah, so that's, where's my other, oh, I bet I just have to go back. Yeah.
I asked it to speak in leet, and it said, that's not my style.
Yes! That means my debugging worked. So we do have some alerts set up specifically. And I have those going to my Discord. I do have a Discord channel. It's right here, Soy Pete Discord. My alerts are broken because it says it's offline and it's supposed to be calling localhost. But I do have 2 alerts set up. I have this is just a ping alert. All it does is it pings it and it says, is this online? It's checking to see if the model is online, which that does currently say it's online. And it's checking to see if the Twitch bot and the Discord bot are online. That doesn't work, and I didn't want to debug it last night. We also have, and it will go on forever. We have a Grafana integration set up. So we have in Grafana set up a couple of things that I'm checking for. I am checking for, again, high key value cache. I'm checking for LLM failure rate. I have a threshold of 15%. So if more than 15% of the messages do not return a response to chat, pings me in Discord, etc. These were what I consider critical alerts. That means I intervene immediately because the experience is down. It's an outage, right? If the model is not online, that's the whole purpose of the thing, right? If the Twitch or Discord bots are not online, that's the full integration. And then if we're not returning enough, that's good. I have some warnings, and these are just latency. High key value cache. Again, that means that we're having too much load on the GPU. It's trying to keep too much context between message, or it's doing too much processing on the prompt. It does, so when it does processing in VLLM, it chunks the tokens up and does parts of the tokens at the same time, and it keeps that in the key value cache. Again, we're doing a P95 latency if that's, so like that, we want most of the requests to be under 3 seconds, and then the time to first token to be under 1 second. We don't want the queue depth to be more than 10, right? I don't want to be handling more than 10 messages at a time because I know it does about 7. So let's just walk through how I would debug this because you haven't broken it and I haven't gotten any alerts yet. Right? We see a high latency on the spike. First thing I could do, right? This could be caused by too many requests, KV cache full, long prompts, right? The longer the prompt, the bigger the thing, or network issues. I've had times when it just took a long time for some reason to call from one computer that was sitting 3 feet away from the other computer on my local network. And I don't know why it took 30 seconds to make that call, but it did. And what I can do, so I'll see this, we'll go to Grafana. Where was our Grafana? Oh, well, let's go to Grafana. Do I have this up over here? I think this is like Claude. I love Blue2:3000. Look. Okay. Get rid of you. And then make that full. Cool. So, right, I can go to Grafana and diagnose. We do have a decent key value cache, and we can see a high latency. Look at that. Our latency at P95 is still about 10 seconds. So it's 9.38, so it's not going to tell me. Our P50 is a little bit higher, so we're doing good there. Our time to first token, still pretty quick at 63 milliseconds. So we can see in the Grafana that we're doing pretty good. But I haven't gotten any alerts. So that's our debugging with that. Or is it this way? Yep. And then we can do different things with the debugging. So if I were to go here, I just have my server up here. These are the logs for Twitch. I don't have any error logs saying it couldn't write to the database. I could go here. Oh yes, this one is the VLLM logs. So Docker logs, VLLM server. This one's kind of actually more fun. These logs are way more fun. It tells you token, throughput, whatever. I have always been surprised what you get out of the box with LLMs. Because I feel like when I call the Open API and I'm using like LangChain or something, I don't have any understanding about how things work. But all the metrics come back on the request. This is spewing metrics all the time. It's super cool. And it's just letting me know if something, how the KV cache is doing, how the prefix hit rate. I don't even know what that means. I should look that up. And we just got to check the success rates and stuff. Typically, how I've fixed high latency is I just kill the cache and I restart everything because it's on Twitch. So I'll restart the bot, lose memory, restart VLLM. I don't do any throttling. You can do that. But if I were to throttle, essentially what I can do to chat is I can turn on slow mode on Twitch, and it forces people to not be able to post every 0.3 seconds, right? They have to wait 5 seconds, which would essentially throttle the requests right in there. So I do have some quick wins I can do, just generally speaking, with that built into my ecosystem. just to allow essentially the model to recover and catch up. And it will catch up, right? You can put 30 messages in the queue, and because that queue is a Go channel, it will go through all 30 messages eventually. I just need to give it a time to catch up and not build up more. But that's not essentially a long-term solution. I do have a database where I store everything. We could have a cache, the queue through the database, so that if I had to restart VLLM or I had to restart the machine, I could restart the Docker pod for the chatbot. I could pull it right back up from the database. I could have more VLLM instances. Like, it's not that hard to put a reverse proxy on top of it and have it call multiple instances of VLLM, since I am storing chat history in the prompt, right? It gets 10 messages through the prompt, so all of history is essentially passed to the model itself. My model does not have to retain any of the history. And then the other thing that makes it faster is using quantized models. If I were to use a 70 billion parameter model, it would be slower than the 8 billion parameter model I'm using. And again, this is Twitch chat. We're not expecting high quality results here. We're expecting it to be accurate about 60% of the time because it's Twitch, right? Like, that's where trolls live. People give you a hard time on Twitch. So I don't need accuracy. What I need is speed. I want it to feel real time. It wants to feel like you're interacting with a regular person, not get a response 30 seconds later. So I will choose latency over quality in that use case. So small models are faster.
I think we killed Pedro.
Is Pedro dead?
He died.
What? Good job, guys. Oh, look at that. That would.
Alert.
We got an alert. Is it in Discord? Oh, somebody's been talking to Pedro. I guess, so I changed my window to be like every 3 minutes or something, so it might throw the alert later. Let's go check Pedro. TwitchBot performance. Oh, look, it dropped down. It doesn't say you guys have been, it's been doing good on the web searches. Did somebody break my failure things? It would be me. I would have broken it. It was throwing failures the other day.
Was somebody?
100%. Good job. Good job for breaking it, guys. Where was my terminal with the logs? Let's go back. Nope. The logs don't show anything. Somebody should have been running in debug mode. That was not me, obviously. Good job. Good job for breaking Pedro. What's it saying? Just like...
Nothing.
Nothing?
Stopped responding.
He's contemplating.
It's contemplating. Is it still... It says it's still running. That's great, guys. I'm so proud of you. I wanted you to break the system, and you did. That's so good. I'm so excited. Bad actors. The other thing I do have a problem with Pedro, I have 5 minutes, so I'm just trying, I want to let people ask questions, is people being stupid, which is essentially not what I asked you to do. I asked you to intentionally break Pedro, not just be dumb. People try to hack the prompt, get it to... Pedro has mod privileges on Twitch, so it can add commands and do stuff like that. So get Pedro to act as a mod and ban somebody, or add a command, or get Pedro to say inappropriate things, like use leet speech, or throw slurs out at people, which Pedro has done. Fix that one real fast. So, like, people can be bad actors, and we have to have things to change that. You can just send really long messages. Again, first thing I did was I limited chat history to only be 10 messages, right? So essentially, if there was a bad actor, their messages should be erased within 10 times. We can do rate limiting again. Another thing that I found works really well is just guardrails in your system. I have a message cleanup check that will remove mod commands. It'll remove inappropriately formed things. It checks words. Like, you have to build software around your AI. Like, that's the thing. If you're not doing software best practices, you're not building AI right. If you were building a regular chatbot, you'd be checking if somebody was throwing slurs. You would have a list of words you don't use. Do the same thing with AI and tell it, sorry, redo, you used a thing. And make sure to include those words in your system prompt, right? Like, no Java. Java is a swear word essentially on my channel, and so... But if you spell it J4V4, Pedro will say it and tell you not to use it. So, you know, the system prompt gets you a long way, but it's only as good as essentially the prompter. So I have several functions that just check the output and make it sure it works the way I want it to work. If you can identify a pattern, like empty responses is something that I was getting a lot for a while. So I have a check for empty response. I can check history. I do a lot of debugging on chat history to be able to identify responses and adjust things. I can test those responses against the prompt to make sure it handles it the way I want it to do and do simulations, right? Like if my chat history was these 10 messages that I have stored here, what would happen? Let's change the prompt, redo it. And again, just like Go has a lot of built-in tooling for like string management. You can change functions, you can remove strings, you can do prefix trimming. Like I don't like regex, I don't use regex, I just use the strings package and it works really great. Pedro is stateless by design. I have a database that stores all of history, but Pedro does not pull from that intentionally so that I can do a quick reset for the bad actors. Like I said, at some point, I probably do want to be able to say this is like history and pull it back in if I need to do a restart, but that's an easy flag to say pull from history or not pull from history if I need to erase that. And even though you broke Pedro somehow, concurrency does handle a lot with that. So yeah, that's my talk. We talked about time to first token. You guys did spike that. You spiked the queue depth. We got the key value cache. And then these ones aren't normal metrics. They do come really easily from VLLM from their metrics endpoint. But they aren't what we do with normal software engineering, but they're really important to understand how your model is interacting with your software. It's the next layer up, right? We still have our DB metrics. We still have our memory stats. We still have our cloud metrics. We still have our API metrics. And then we add that layer, which is the AI metrics that understand and build that whole picture. Go is great for AI infrastructure. It handles the concurrency, it handles the observability, it handles the memory. It's just an API connection, right? But I would say I do not, generally speaking, recommend doing anything beyond API connections. If you want to access the GPU directly, if you want to do one-off calls, there are a couple of libraries that let you do direct calls to Llama C++ and VLLM as not as a server, but as a binary. I would not recommend doing that with Go. I think I would not recommend training. I would not recommend fine-tuning. Python's a much better language for a lot of things with Go. But if you're doing API calls, that's just web services with an extra handset of metrics, and Go does web services fantastically. I showed you, I do have my everything in Prometheus. I didn't actually pull that up, but I can, where did you go? I do have the metrics here. I was going to show you. Oh, that's not how you spell HTTP. If you want to know, the meme on in general with my life is that I can't spell. So, this is on Pedro. Oh, no, I have this at whatever. 10, no. Sorry. Got to go to tail scale and copy that. There we go. Why wasn't even tail scale connected? Okay, I'll get the metrics in a minute. I just wanted to show you all the metrics that came out of the box. And I can get that while we do. That's just regurgitating the last thing. Go is excellent for AI infrastructure. And so, yeah, now I will, yes, this was my last thing. If you want to build it in production, self-hosting is hard, and there's a threshold for when you want to start self-hosting versus not self-hosting, right? Like I do this for my Twitch channel, and part of that motive is for content. Like there's content around self-hosting that I want to provide. But again, if I was gonna go, somebody's like, hey, Miriah, do that at work, I'd be like, you sure you want that overhead of managing that yourself? If you still want to stick with open source, you can do OpenRouter, you can do Cerebras. If you're okay with proprietary and spending the extra money, OpenAI, Anthropic, Cohere, Vertex AI, you have all of those other things. I would say, great, switch to self-hosted. When you're having bandwidth limits, you want to control it yourself and do your own proxy thing and have your own whatever. When you're fine-tuning your models, as soon as you start refining that yourself, you're going to have so much more control doing multiple models and picking it and running that on your own architecture. And you have to make sure you have a full infrastructure team to support it. Like, you're going to be spinning up multiple instances of this, and you're going to have somebody that understands how to optimize for the AI workload with GPUs, with multiple instances, with reverse proxy, just specifically for the AI. You're going to want somebody to maintain that yourself. So there you go. Now we have, 2 minutes. Wait, do we have 2 minutes or 4 minutes, Boston? Which one are we running on?
As you want.
Okay, I have as long as we want for questions. Any questions? Okay, go ahead.
To avoid sort of red teaming practices or bad actors, do you have some sort of other AI that's filtering out those bad prompts?
I do not.
Have
Go ahead, continue.
specific algorithms in your Go code to sanitize the prompt?
At this point, I do not have a separate AI running. I only have one instance of the AI, and I want to keep that maintained for the Twitch chat and not do a separate one. I literally, right now, am just doing string parsing. So I'm saying goes fast. I know what people are going to say. I can pick out words. And I can, again, if I say, hey, this is something you shouldn't say, I can throw it back to the LLM and get the response still in a reasonable time and say, hey, redo that. So most of the time, I'm just doing filtering on the Go side with string checks. And then the other thing, if I notice a repeating pattern, I always go and adjust it in the system prompt. My system prompt's only a single paragraph. It's about 300 words. It's not long. And it has...
Manual process that you're editing those?
Editing the system prompt, it's in the code, so I literally do have to make a commit and push it up and redeploy for that. Because the system prompt is essentially like a config. I could store it in the database, but then I don't have a record of the change, so I like to keep it in the... And it's also like, if people have never done it before, this is what I'm doing kind of a thing. So yeah, I would go do a commit and a redeploy with the adjusted system prompt. The thing that says probably you don't want to do the system prompt is length. If you're noticing a latency because it is processing too many tokens, are those tokens coming from your system prompt, or are they coming from the rest of your context, right? If your system prompt, so there's a balance there, and when you start to hit that balance, you really need an NLP expert to come help you edit that, because word choice is going to matter, context is tokenization is going to matter, and certain length prompts are going to matter, and that's what NLP specialists are supposed to know, prompt engineers specifically. So, if that's something that you're seeing, I highly recommend getting a specialist for that. But I have gotten away with essentially just doing the filtering at the Go function level, except for a couple of things like Java and Leet Speak. I told it to be nice and never be mean and not use slurs. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So you mentioned that you have a database for chat history, but you're not using it, so you're also keeping the chat history for every single user.
Oh, yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, so I'm just using Supabase as just a database. I do not have any intention of ever using chat. And I only use the usernames they provide. I'm not... Right? If somebody's going to go put their history on chat, I feel like I'm fair enough to be able to scrape it. It's public internet. I'm very particular about data sharing. So it's I'm not trying to gather information. I have no intention of using it for training. The intent of it, is for debugging and reproducibility, right? I can redo this, or I can repeat patterns. There was... The other thing that I am trying to set up to use the database for is essentially replacing Nightbot, which is like a command thing, so that it can do something like if somebody came on and said, what is your YouTube channel? It can say, great, this question is a 95% semantic match to what I expect, return this canned response. So that's the other thing I plan on using the database for, but it's just a Postgres Supabase with a PG vector on it. It works really great. And like I said, the history is mostly for debugging. I do not really have any intent of doing anything else with it, because fine-tuning on Twitch chat just seems like a recipe for trolls and bad behavior on the part of the model.
You're not using the database storage for any sort of content.
At this point, no. At this point, the entire content is kept in memory.
It's like a key value for each.
It's literally just a slice. It's literally just a slice in time order. I have the timestamp on it as well. And then for the Discord bot, what we actually do is we have everything go into a thread. And so it reads the entire thread in as the context. So it's just this. So in the Discord chat, I'm using the Discord thread as my context. And then for Twitch, I just keep a 10-message history. Because a lot of the times we just misspell Pedro when we're asking it to do something. And then we can go back and say, hey, answer my last question. And then B, because I do not have a lot of activity. And so the length of conversations is generally speaking 8 chats. So I don't need to do that. Also, the database call would introduce a latency I don't necessarily need. I'm not close to maxing out my memory as far as the Go app, so I figure I can store it in memory without any negative side effects.
Is that 10 messages per user or 10 messages over?
The last 10 messages in Twitch chat is my history, and it includes the messages that Pedro sent in that as well. So Pedro has the context of its own responses.
Okay.
And again, for the amount of traffic I have on my Twitch channel, ideal. If I was like Primeagen and I was getting spammed like that, I would probably want like a 200 message history. And I would probably have that stored somewhere as a vector pre-computed using a second model just for vectorization, and then be doing semantic search on it to pull something out. Like I would be doing something completely different and not passing that whole context. But I'm not. Cool. I can probably do one more question, then we'll need to move on. Go ahead.
On one of the first slides, you mentioned the hard part wasn't using Go. It was like the networking.
Uh-huh.
Can you expand on that?
Yes. So the hard part of using AI is not necessarily running the model. Like it was a one command thing to run VLLM and pull a model from Hugging Face. Now the hard part was saying, okay, great. How do I authenticate between my app and that? It requires a token. I do not want other people to be able to spam my LLM, so I have it behind my Home Labs VPN, which is Tailscale, right? If I wanted to scale that up, great. I don't want to be saying, okay, great, these are the 5 APIs you can use, pick one, because I have 5 instances of LLMs. I'm gonna want to have one alias with a reverse proxy that could send it to one of those 5 things so I can do load balancing, right? I'm gonna care at a certain point, networking's gonna require a certain amount of latency with that, right? So if I had a model hosted in the cloud in US Central 3 and then something in my home lab, I am introducing a latency that I would then have to account for as far as the behavior that I'm expecting, right? So it's scaling up, we have multiple pods, we can have multiple instances of my Docker container. Then if I did have multiple instances of the Pedro app running, then I would have to use the database to store memory, which incurs another latency, right? Because I want to have memory be the same across every pod. I don't use Kubernetes, but I want to. That's why I'm using that word. I just didn't have time to set up Kubernetes, and AI is not fast enough for Helm. So the hard part is 100% the infrastructure and the networking and the operations, right? Making sure you have the alerts that work, because my alerts are broken. It keeps telling me things are offline when you can use it, right? So there's all of the things, but those are, in my opinion, the same things that are hard about writing regular software, right? Do you get a database clash? Is your service up? Do I need to scale up or down? Like those are the things that you bring in specialists, essentially we call them DevOps engineers, to handle, and that's the hard part, in my opinion, with this as well. Because you can do everything else on a Raspberry Pi. Okay, cool. I think that's all. We're good for that.